Welcome again to our webinar about municipal engagement in Peru and Colombia. We're very thrilled to have excellent panelists with us today. I'll introduce them shortly. So we have Garth Frizzell, Jan Wood, and Marie-France Brisson. I'll give a slightly better introduction just after. We're very pleased also that we have 64 people who have registered. I see that we already have 43 with us online. Maybe a few more will join. Because this webinar is recorded, people are also registering to receive the recording, which we'll try to share with you this afternoon or tomorrow so that we can continue to share what we're doing with our projects. Today, we will have a short introduction overview of FCM International and CISAL. We have people joining our webinar from East, West, Central Canada, people who are involved in our projects, sometimes new people who are interested by what we're doing overseas. We also have some of our staff from overseas offices, including in Peru and Colombia. We have participants from Europe, so we'll make sure that you know a little bit about FCM. We won't take too much time for that, but it's important that you know where the programming stems from. Have an overview of the webinar, and the key part is really to listen to the experience stories and suggestions that Marie-France Brisson and Jan Wood will bring to the table, and we'll invite you to to interact with our participants. So I mentioned earlier how to use the chat box. So we'll invite you, as you listen to the different presentations, to type your questions in the chat box. And when we get to the Q&A part of the webinar, I will voice those questions one by one, and we'll get the participant, the panelists, to answer them. So here is our lineup for today. So first, we'll have Councillor Garth Frizzell, who is from Prince George, British Columbia. Garth has been involved with us for many years. Who were with us, I mean with FCM and with FCM International in particular. I think he's one of the longest standing representative on our program governance, started to work in Asia and now with Peru and Colombia. We then have Mr. Jan Wood, who is the Director of Economic Development from Sudbury. Very interesting stories, including locally in Sudbury, how the mining sector has transformed over the years. So we'll hear about that. And then Madame Marie-France Brisson, General Director from La Conception in Quebec, who has also been involved since last year with our program. We'll also provide some perspective on the mining sector. And now I'll open the microphone for Garth. Welcome, Garth.
I'm Pascal. Thanks very much for the introduction.
Thanks for joining us today. And it's early for you, 9 in British Columbia. Very pleased to have you with us. And it's not your first webinar, so I know that it's going to be very interesting to hear from you. You've been involved with the program in Peru and Colombia since the very beginning, so I'll let you go with your presentation, but I know you'll also share some of your own perspective on the work that we're doing over there. So over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Pascal, and good morning all. Bonjour. I hope that wherever you are this morning or or perhaps this afternoon for you, that all is well. It's really exciting. As I'm sitting here, I'm the rural government area of the regional district of Fraser-Fort George that covers rural areas of northern BC and also the cities, 4 cities inside of our area. I mention that because it was exciting as this particular project got together. It kind of epitomized how FCM International connects the governments in Canada with international projects. I say that because mining is a very visible part of our economy. It's a daily thing that we talk about, that we see, and being able to bring some of the expertise from the economy side, from the development side, from just working with the business side. It was exciting to be able to share something that is part of our daily lives, our daily economy, and see how it translates overseas. As I also want to say that it's different models. So Pascal mentioned that I've gotten the chance to work in some of the Asia programs, the Municipal Partners for Economic Development, and over there we heard feedback on the program that we run, where your traditional model for development might be seeing volunteers with really great intentions go to work in countries and build things. With FCM, what we do is we go over and we ask what needs to be done, and we look and we talk and we partner the local governments with local government associations, and we get X in country to work with them, and together we build demonstration projects. So it's been exciting to watch this one grow, right from initial policy discussions with councillors from Toronto to Vancouver to Bront, Quebec to Saguenay. It's been exciting to watch as this grew from an idea into reality. I'm doing this for about 30 years now. FCM International has been partners with the Government of Canada, and as you can see on the slide, over $175 million worth of projects have been delivered with municipalities. Now, that includes a contribution from the Government of Canada. That's much appreciated, but it also means that we do in-kind contributions. That means that we get expert staff members, expert volunteers, and elected officials who will go over or host delegations to come to visit us here in Canada. It's a good model because it emphasizes the fact that we are seeking partnerships. We're not saying what needs to be done, we're working together, and that's critical for us. And a success for us in 42 countries, and you can see all over the world. And a lot of Canadian municipalities have been involved in just the 30 years. Well, we have tremendous depth of expertise all across the country, and I must say a really great diversity of expertise as well. I'm looking forward to hearing from Marie-France, and also from talking to Ian again. He went on the last mission with us down to Peru. But you can see our staff in Canadian municipalities have tremendous excellence in everything from local economic development, governance and democracy and municipal services, to gender equality, environmental sustainability, post-disaster reconstruction. And when we're talking with local governments in countries from Haiti to Mali, we hear is the importance that they place on that partnership, also on sharing of knowledge. Yes, pipes in the ground is very valuable, but the thing that struck me on our most recent trip to Peru was that the ask was for shared knowledge, to bring down some of the experts from Canadian municipalities to share that knowledge so that they could continue the work themselves, so that they could finish building projects themselves. Again, all partners. So a bit about the project in Colombia. It was exciting in October of 2018. Wow, it's been a little while when Suzanne Beliveau and Christopher Yeomans came up to Prince George to take a look at what mining in northern British Columbia looked like. These are our program managers. Christopher runs the program down out of Peru for our offices in Peru and Colombia. And here at home, Suzanne Beliveau is our program manager here in Canada. And the two came. They came and visited. They talked to people like Brian Frankel from northern BC, he's a councillor in Vanderhoof, to Al Richmond, who's the chair of the Cariboo Regional District. They came on site. They visited mines here. They saw what our context was and got a real feel for it. And that's critical because the Peru context is very different. So in the near 90s, the course of mining in Peru changed. It turned private, corporate, large scale, and the technology started changing. So today, Peru is leading the world production in a variety of metals, copper, zinc, silver, tin. And in 2015, that meant 11% of GDP. When we go on to Twitter, looking at what the issues of the day are in Peru, mining comes up again and again. The United Nations is talking about Peru, it's mining they're talking about. That percent of Peruvian territory mining concessions, only currently in operation, exploration, but 20% of their territory has concessions on it. And for the 10 years, and I'm thinking 2004 to 2014, gross domestic product of Peru grew an average of 7%. They're getting development. Switch over to in the main context there. Last 10 years, their national government has defined mining as a main priority for development. And 4.7% of the territory has mining concessions. And again, 1% being explored or exploited. Well, what does it mean? Well, the challenges they're facing. Colombia is the second most, highest level of inequality in Latin America, and the signs of inequality are throughout the economy and the social realities. When we're looking at our partnerships, and for us, of course, as Federation of Canadian Municipalities, is to look through the lens of local governments. Means is we're trying to partner with local governments, look at the issues that local governments are mandated to provide services, the governance, and work together on that. In Latin America, the that we're running is called CISAL. And I can see through the chat box that Christopher Yeoman and the team is there in the offices in Lima, and I can see also Al Richmond down in Bogota. Good morning to all of you. CEL is an outstanding program, and the offices that have been built down there are a credit to what ETSM's trying to achieve. So what we've been trying to do is strengthen local government in those mining areas in Colombia and Peru. And a resource economy has suddenly appeared near your community, whether you're in northern British Columbia, northern Quebec, the North Territories, wherever. The impact on that can be dramatic and pronounced. But how do you maximize the opportunities that are there? I was down in Peru. It was the first time I had heard the phrase of a walled economy, and the term, when I was thinking through, makes sense. What happens when you have an economy plunked down that you don't have access to, that is promised as a great opportunity? Well, you get the opportunity for social benefits, for sustainable economic opportunities for your communities. If you don't experience, it can be very difficult. And a place where Canadian municipalities, I know in my area in particular, this is one of the strengths we love sharing. And we want to share our experience and our knowledge with local governments in Colombia and Peru through collaborative learning. Working with these local governments means working with the institution that is going to be closest to the communities. And you can feel that as you're walking through small villages in Chumbivilcas, which is near Machu Picchu in Peru. It's 4 kilometers closer to the sun than I live at. It's very high in the mountains. And you see that issues we don't give a second thought to, and that may be the most critical issues, whether that's water or whether that's waste management or simply economic development. So we want to work with those local governments, and we've been making some great headways towards that. The apologies again, my Spanish is non-existent, so the translation means sustainable communities in Latin America. What we try to do is contribute to building inclusive and sustainable communities. And the way we do that is encouraging local economic development, effects, and creation and knowledge sharing. So that as we speak, there are at least missions going on, and that may include my new friend Jeff Precourt, who's the Chief Administrative Officer for Tulan, Manitoba, mining community just north of Winnipeg. And he's down from his community to spend time in Peru, engineering information. I'll be with Al Richmond, who's down in Bogota, doing knowledge sharing at a conference right now in Colombia. But seek to influence, share information on a broad variety of different areas. So how are we working right now? We've got a team, different municipalities, different communities that are working. Those are Canadian municipalities, and they're in 4 regions in Colombia and Peru. We got in partner municipalities that'll keep working with CISAL. We've got 4 local government associations working with 3 local government associations in Colombia and Peru. So this is a pretty significant effort, and it's ongoing. And I tell you, March is a very big month for us. There's a lot of work going on with our partner communities in Peru and Colombia. So how does it all work? It works through tremendous work from volunteers that I've already spoken about. It also involves an incredibly dedicated staff, both in country and here in Canada. It also depends on the partners. And as you can see, FCM International has a pretty wide range of different programs that are going on right now, from our work in Ukraine and in the Caribbean to MPED, the Municipal Partners for Economic Development that was in 7 countries, to our work in Haiti and all over. So I want to take this opportunity right now to thank Global Affairs Canada, Department of Affairs, Trade and Development for their support. The monetary contribution makes it all possible, but they also connect with us on a regular basis to help with directions for the program. So thank you. And if you want more information throughout the webinar or afterwards, you can get in touch with us through international@fcm.ca. My experience coming from Prince George to take part in these different missions has been extraordinary. It's been an opportunity for me to learn, but it's also been good to watch our technical experts, our staff, their information and building relationships that last in the Facebook age, in the Twitter, the friends that you develop grow beyond where these initial start. So thank you, everybody. And now I want to introduce you to Ian Woods. Ian Woods is the Director of Economic Development in Sudbury, and we got a chance to meet back in November on the first mission when we were in Lima watching the Canadian elections from the hotel, and then the next day get our plane and going our separate directions. He up to Ancash and me up to Chumbivilcas. So away, it's been a pleasure.
Very much, Garth, and since you've already introduced Mr. Ian Woods, so yeah, I gave you control of the slides, so I'll let you go with your presentation if that's okay with you.
That's great with me. Thanks, Pascal, and thanks, Garth. It was a pleasure to meet you in Peru, and I look forward to working together again. I've got 12 minutes to introduce myself, give you a little slice of our municipality. I've also been asked to cover a couple of common challenges that we see between Canadian mining municipalities and those in Peru. Outline a few opportunities that I see from my perspective for us as we move our work forward, and hopefully to encourage some others to sign up or look for opportunities to get involved. And that's what this first slide and picture is for. That's a plane high up in the Andes Mountains, about 14,000 feet, taken from the bus on the way from Lima to Juarez, and I'll talk about that in a second. But what an experience! So hard work, very interesting work, very professionally rewarding work, but personally interesting as well. So I'm just going to figure out how to advance. Here we go. Sudbury. Those of you who don't know, quick intro, we're about 4 hours straight north of Toronto, population of 164,000 people. We're the largest geographic municipality in the province of Ontario. Our community's mining credentials are second to none in the world. We've been mining continuously for more than 130 years. We've got 12 operating mines at the moment, 12 major ones, some smaller open pits going as well. Two of our mines in of themselves have been in operation for more than 100 years. So there's a fair amount of metal. The estimates are overall Sudbury Basin is worth more than $1 trillion in today's metal prices in terms of ore and minerals. Not surprising from my day job as Director of Economic Development, mining and mining supply and services is one of our core sectors. We invest substantial resources, both human and financial, into advancing this unique cluster, and in particular supporting export development. In terms of CISAL in Peru, as Garth was mentioning, we're operating in those two areas, in the region of Ancash and the region of Cusco. And the map gives you a little bit of an idea of how they relate to the capital in Lima. From a Greater Sudbury perspective, as Garth mentioned, I was there in the fall. A year previous to that, our former CAO was involved in one of the original scouting missions for the CISAL program. And one of my colleagues, Jean-Mathieu Chenier, a business development officer here, just returned from 2 weeks down in Peru. Let's move on to the next slide. As I said, there's 4 communities in each region. They vary from fairly urbanized area to more rural communities, and some of those rural communities incorporate quite remote agricultural villages and settlements. All of the areas that we're working in are very high up, 10,000 feet plus in terms of altitude. There's some adaptation required both on the volunteers. Also interesting to see the adaptation from the locals and how they've developed working in that kind of a climate. And these are my personal views. One of the things that was revealing to me was the relatively weak in Canadian terms municipal structure that exists in Peru. In terms of revenues, they have a lack of consistent and sustainable revenue. We found in some of the communities we visited that there is property taxation, but at least in some cases, a majority of landowners aren't paying, and they have very limited ways of enforcing that. There's also ongoing issues around corruption, not every community, but in the country, and even some organized crime in terms of land transfers and that kind of thing. So challenging situation there. The national government dictates the regulatory environment for municipalities and recently instituted a one-term limit on politicians to reduce corruption. A good idea, but challenging in the fact that the mayors in their system not only serve as political leaders, but also as administrative leaders. And they hire the senior staff which report to them. And it makes it challenging if all these people are going to disappear every 4 years. Shortens the horizons and doesn't encourage that strategic longer-term thinking. In terms of authority, as I said, most of the power is vested at the national level, with some at the regional level, which are more equivalent to our provinces. In terms of relevance, this is one of the things we found in terms of working with the local community, the businesses, the chambers of commerce. Have a lot of faith in the municipalities. Certainly the mayors play a ceremonial role, but there's not a lot of validity given to the role that they play in the economy. So interesting perspective. That's just a shot of our delegation meeting in Cajascay, one of the smaller areas in municipalities in Ancash. and we actually met about 8 mayors and officials at that meeting. So moving on to common challenges between Canada and Peruvian municipalities in the mining context. Certainly, I think in both cases we see the regulatory authority non-local hands. In Canada, of course, most decisions, mining licenses, environmental and social regulation all come from our provinces and to some degree from the national government. In Peru, it's the national government that's setting these standards. And a challenge certainly for local governments to get involved and to participate in those issues. Foreign-owned large mining companies, at one time I would have said that was quite different in Sudbury, but over the last 10 years, all our largest mining operations have moved from North American-controlled companies with relatively local headquarters to international mining conglomerates with headquarters in Europe and South America. Our operations, which used to be sort of the central of the companies that operate here, are now cost centers in a much larger operation, and our ability to influence companies and interact with the decision makers has changed considerably. So we certainly understand those changes on the Peruvian context as well. Revenue sharing, there's none in Ontario. There is some in Peru, but it's inconsistent based on profits and certainly given the commodities cycle that we're in right now, the royalties that have gone to local governments have been reduced drastically. On the environmental side, certainly the environment is a very significant concern in communities, both here in Canada and in Peru. With 12 mines operating, a couple of refineries and smelters in the city of Greater Sudbury, we're very familiar with environmental concerns and the changes that have come about in the last 40 years. And some of the concerns that we see locally here in Sudbury and in Peru, we see it as valid, but mining tends to act as a magnet for environmental concerns, and some, even though they're a long way away from the site and probably don't have much to do with mining, are attributed that way. So it's sifting through that is an interesting challenge in both jurisdictions. I think the changes in our environment and regulatory changes in Canada are a model, and we can certainly speak to those. What we see at the bottom, the one on the right, is an unmaintained tailings area in a river bottom in Peru, and very environmental eyesore and of significant concern, but nothing's happening. On the left is a water plant installed at the Barrick mine, which will eventually be turned over to the community. It is probably a good example of things. In terms of capacity building, I certainly see real opportunities here. Garth talked about it, the relationship local government to local government, staff to staff. We met wonderful, dedicated people in the municipalities in Peru, certainly under-resourced in terms of funding, in terms of policies, in terms of sustainable jobs even, but huge opportunities for us to work with them, strengthen them where we can, and also learn from them. And right across the municipal spectrum, as I've indicated there. And also, as Garth indicated, working directly municipal association, we can help there too, I believe, in providing support. The photo at the bottom is our delegation meeting with discussing social programs with the regional government in Ancash. Chain, this is seen as a big opportunity locally. It is challenging to work with large mining companies to support local suppliers. Not that the mining companies aren't interested, but having local suppliers step up to be able to make quality timing and expectations of those companies is challenging, but I think there are ways we can work with them on that. I know that Sudbury cluster is often pointed to. The biggest difference there is the concentration of mines that we have within the city, and obviously that leads to more opportunities for local suppliers because of that. A little more challenging where, operating mines are hundreds of kilometers apart. It's not necessarily the same piece. So I'm obviously running out of time. I apologize for speaking fast, but I had we've gone to diversification. I've got my slides mixed up here. Yes, mining revenues to enhance alternate economic structures. I've mentioned tourism and agriculture, but there are others as well. And investing in strategic infrastructure now that will benefit communities on the life of the mine, I think, are things that they want to talk about, and we certainly want to talk about as well. And in conclusion, the situation is challenging but very interesting and rewarding in Peru. As I said earlier, I don't believe it's a one-way street. I think if you go in with the attitude that you're going to learn as well as share, it's a very rewarding experience. The other piece, Garth mentioned Twitter, and for those of you who have access to Twitter, and I know everyone should, I'm sure Pascal can share those links. It's a very good way to keep in touch with the program and what the opportunities are and what's happening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jan. And yes, indeed, when we'll share this, the recording of this webinar, we'll include some of those information about Twitter and about resources that are available on our website, so that's available for everybody and in the know. Thank you very much, Jan, for your presentation. We'll come back to you when we come to the Q&A part of the webinar. I'll cut your microphone now, and while I'm transferring control to Marie-France Brisson and introducing her soon, I'd like to invite you, everybody who is online with us right now. We have 45 people. That's awesome. I'd like to invite you to use the chat box at the bottom to ask your questions. So when we get to the Q&A, we'll go through the questions that we receive through the chat box and get then Jan Wood, Garth Frizzell and Marie-France Brisson to answer them. So please use the chat box, not the Q&A. You have a Q&A as well that you can use, but I prefer to use the chat box. It's a little bit more simple to manage, and also it allows other participants to see your questions, including the panelists. So without much more ado, I'll give the microphone to Marie-France. And Marie-France?
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Pascal.
Okay. And so Marie-France is the Director General of La Conception, a small rural municipality located in Quebec, so on the east side of Canada, kind of. You studied in biology, renewable energies, and sometime a little bit later in 2006, your career moved towards municipalities, and now you're involved with us. I think you started to get involved with CISAL last year. Is that correct?
Exactly. September 2015, actually, yes.
Okay, and your area of contribution in the program relates around social acceptability, mediation issues, things like that, and I think that's what you're going to talk about today.
Exactly. So thank you, Pascal, and well, good morning, everyone, or should I say good afternoon, depending on where you are. Well, thank you for the introduction, Pascal. So my name is Marie-France Brisson, and I am currently the General Director, or the CAO, I believe you say so, in other provinces. So in La Conception for 6 years now. La Conception is located an hour and a half drive north of Montreal, province of Quebec, and it has a small and beautiful municipality located next door to famous Mont-Tremblant. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us today, and I am definitely happy to share with you about our involvement in the FCM CISAL program. But does it work? Just to make sure. Pascal, you let me know if it doesn't. Okay. Well, even though
that's going very well, Marie-France. Thank you.
Also, I was just going to say, so even though we did discuss briefly today about CISAL, Very, as my partners today just mentioned, what is CISAL? It is a partnership with Peru and Colombian local governments, working with Canadian municipalities. There are many Canadian mining companies established and operating in Peru and Colombia. Again, you see, we're majorly talking about gold and coal mining. Well, we have that maybe local governments were not quite ready to handle or deal with those giants. It seems maybe their rights have not necessarily been respected, their lands have changed, and local governments even seem in a bad position to negotiate, I'd say, Colombian government, but with the mining companies regarding royalties, which seem not to be distributed equally. So I believe that they could be in a better position to negotiate, definitely. And if you look at those photos, you will notice that, well, actually the top ones were taken in Colombia, bottom was in Peru. Not only they don't have same landscape, but well, they don't have same needs and same issues, definitely. And the photo on the left-hand side at the top is one taken in La Guajira, which is the area with with which La Concepcion is working. Sorry. So on slide 3, so partnership with La Guajira. So La Concepcion invited. Well, first, our economy is based on ecotourism a lot, and have unfortunately a major water issue in the past years, a year and a half, 2.5, sorry, crisis, which we came out of successfully. So we can definitely sit down and share ideas and expertise with local government in La Guajira. With La Guajira, which is this of a province, it's a department northeastern of Colombia, and they have major water issues, very, very poor area, and we think that they can develop around ecotourism as well. So pretty similar issues in La Concepcion. Let's say it's just a great match. So just looking at those photos, La Guajira has major potable water issues, but added to this, there is a coal mine operating, and the impacts, which I'll refer to in just a few minutes, and salt mine operating as well. To talk to you about our goals and expectations throughout those missions. And maybe I have a problem here. Yes, okay, it works. So we are working in 2 areas. The first one being what we call the coal corridor. You saw that red circle appear. Communities named Barrancas, Hato Nuevo, and Fonseca are in this area. Those municipalities are inland, where the Cerrejón mine is actually operating. The Cerrejón mine is a coal mine a company, actually. So this map, you see there's a railroad going all the way from that red circle, that area, to all the way to the coast, the Caribbean Sea, of coal mining effect. Active ones being related to the employment. So we're talking about over 15,000 jobs related to this company. But of course, the negative the impacts are on the environment. In this, they have definitely a urgent priority to water issues. They definitely need a system with ecology, project management. As Ian said previously, for this area as well, there's a lack of structure in the local government. Other systems that are in place at the moment are in a very bad shape. We're talking about no maintenance done, very poor managed, and as a result, they have no potable water at all, and even the quantity is not sufficient. They get about an average of 1.5 hours of water, and they don't know when that comes. And those three municipalities altogether, about 100,000 citizens, totally unacceptable, of course. And so far, well, we could expect a stronger collaboration with the coal mines for a more positive action. So we believe they can involve themselves a lot more in supporting local initiatives. We expect to give general support in land use planning, local governance, of course. And definitely education and social changes are needed regarding the environment, waste management, water use, etc. It's an issue. Second work, you see that red circle here on the map, is called Manaore, which we call the salt corridor. This mine is operating in this area. So to have a urgent priority to water issues, for reasons, no structure, no maintenance. Another with the solid waste management, which is a major issue in Manaore. We have to analyze ecotourism possibilities. And since the salt mine is challenged by contraband activities, so it can be diversified. And already a few ideas came up regarding cosmetics and other ideas since there's salt from the mine which is available. We still believe that there are possibilities for the Cerrejón coal mine to collaborate more. And again, education and social changes are definitely needed. It's an issue. So now let's move on to our accomplishments. So that second mission in La Guajira, where we just got back last Saturday, so it's all pretty fresh as information is concerned. But I can say that so far, FCM has definitely established trust relationships with the local government. We have to keep in mind that we are working with native communities. So relationships and handshakes are way more important than written agreements. We've noticed that. So FCM has definitely established those so far. And then to work with FCM CSAL, they've proven it to us. They made themselves very available to meet us. We invited at the mayor's private for lunch. They're asking us, when are you coming back? What tasks can we do before you come back? In Hato Nuevo, one of those municipalities located in the coal corridor, a very concrete example, they were about to go on a project to dig a well. And since FCM was work with them, they slowed down totally that project so that we can involve ourselves more and support them. As well, we did visit all water structures in both areas and are ready to technically assist the locals in their actual projects to get the potable water. And we gained a better understanding of the local government and salt corridors, reality, issues, and needs. So let's talk about more specific accomplishments in each region. So specifically to the Barrancas, Hato Nuevo, Fonseca area, so definitely and successfully the necessity of a regional vision. So we found that by sitting down together and working together, have power and have a financial advantage as well in sharing costs, for example. And as come, 5 mayors and the department governor, which is a powerful lady with strong connections to the national government, will sitting down, meeting, and working together next week. So it has to prove they have strongly committed to work with us. And of course, recommendations, all regarding water issues mainly, in order to assist them in conducting an hydrogeological study that they definitely need prior to anything else before they go on with the regional water issue. made recommendations so they hire consultants to get accurate portraits of the actual infrastructures that they have, water infrastructures. So they need plans and general guidance and provide them with Canadian examples simply as terms of reference, etc. Now for the Manaore area. On Pascal, I know 12 minutes, that's short. So specific accomplishments are for the Manaore area. Well, we've conducted a meeting with Corpo Guajira, which is the equivalent of the Ministry of Environment in Canada, for them and local leaders to set up stages for an eco-tourism project that has for now 8 years. And that meeting was successful to the point that this is just about to get started in the coming months. Again, it was simply a lack of coordination. We did post water management possibilities to be analyzed, so I think that should be worked on throughout next mission. And finally, we visited and we've discussed water issues and salination plant situation, actually working on improving the situation. We will definitely just simply support them, provide advice and expertise. And if you look at that photo at the bottom, it is a beautiful area. It's full of contrast. It is, yes, but it is very beautiful at the same time. So, regarding steps and following mission, okay, will simply accompany the corridor local government in something that hydrological study that they absolutely need. Advice, sorry, there's an S there, shouldn't be there. So we'll give them advice, hiring consultants. Now, the ecotourism project, which is a beautiful project. We will provide them with administrative support, technical assistance in water management in both areas, of course. We establish tighter relationships with the San Mine, which we believe can involve more in local development, particularly. Analyze with them waste management, eco and ethno-tourism possibilities, administration with transparency, which is so important, and of course focus on sustainable projects. So changes ahead, well, we had to reestablish relationships since last elections were held November 2015, so that step went pretty well. We do have us as well to work with the uncertainty of the amount of royalties that they're getting. You know, unfortunately, in Colombia, the funding received is based on partisan politics very often. We have active communication between levels of government. We talked about the lack of communication and coordination. We have, unfortunately, with history of corruption in Colombia and transparency. That photo you see on the right-hand side, that is gasoline trafficking. There's the Venezuelan border. Well, there's a lack of general structure in the local government. We've said so many times, made major needs for changes in public awareness and education. So then I would say it is simply a win-win experience. It's very rewarding, and yes, I believe we can help, we can make a difference. It's an opportunity to put your municipality on the map, to share your expertise, to help others. As you saw, those photos, through relationships are built, as Marcus today said as well. So, well, thank you. I did have to speak very fast as well. 12 minutes are just not enough. I believe we could all speak about those subjects for many hours. To the municipality and my partners in Langley and elsewhere. So questions I can, as you probably noticed, answer in French as well. So the control back to Pascal. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Marie-France. And yes, of course, we're asking the presenters to be relatively brief in presenting, and I think they've all followed our guidelines in that respect, but that's because we want to keep time at the end for taking the questions from participants, and we're getting actually quite a lot, so we'll try to go through all of them. We have about 20 minutes to do that, so we'll go one by one. The first one that I have here comes from Robert Klink. So it says that, and I'm just reading it, through CISAL, FC mobilizes Canadian municipal experts from resource communities to work with their counterparts in Colombia and Peru. This model work within Canada to help find maybe innovative solutions to indigenous governments, maybe collaborations with local communities to build more sustainable and inclusive communities. So basically, maybe I can ask you both, Yann and Marie-France, to comment on that. Do you think that this model of collaboration could work in Canada? Or maybe do you have any experience or of knowledge, or maybe you've been involved in something like that? Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll start with you.
Sure, I can briefly on that, Pascal. Yes, I believe that whenever municipalities get together, learning happens and opportunities arise. So in brief, yes, I think that is possible. We do some of it in Northern Ontario when we meet on a regional basis or amongst our peers. It's also something that Garth will tell you that I talked to him about when we were down there, is that the potential that FCM could bring resource-based communities in Canada together, learn from one another, because certainly the experiences are different across the country, and there is knowledge and best practices to share.
Thank you, Yann. Marie-France, I don't know if you would have anything to add to that?
Well, simply that, yes, I believe it's what we do in Peru and Colombia. We can definitely apply this within our country. It's simply, it is funny how sometimes you have to get out of your own country to get ideas to apply here now. So, yeah, working with major communities in Guajira for me gives me what we could do with our native communities as well.
And I don't know, Councillor Frizzle, Garth, do you have a perspective on that as well? Because including, FCM pretty much. So what would you say to that question?
Well, Pascal, and what's interesting is that the opportunities for collaboration with Peru while we were down in November were great, but it also provided a rare opportunity to meet both these topics with counterparts in Canada. So to meet Rick Cofield and Ian, with Jeff Precourt from all across Canada, and indeed the first vice president of FCM, Clark Somerville, came down as well. So here we were, people in Canada who might not have talked about these opportunities before, having a chance to meet. The old phrase that if you go on mission, one of the great opportunities is to meet people you might not talk to in depth in other locations. So I think what we have is the opportunity to build something and apply. That we've done work with international program already in some of the territories, so we do have precedent, and I think that's something we should look into.
And if I may add a little bit of the corporate flavor to that, there's this idea of bringing resource-based communities in Canada to share their experience is also part of the design of the CISAL project. So it's going to come a little bit later when we know really what are the areas of priorities and needs with our communities in Peru and Colombia. But this is something that we'll try to encourage, maybe through networks and mechanisms mostly that are already existing. And the other angle is the Aboriginal angle in your question, Robert, which I'll share with you in the follow-up email to this webinar, the link to one of our projects that actually helps to build this municipal to Aboriginal communities collaboration in Canada and build good models and practices, and also encourage communities to exchange on that basis. So FCM is already doing some work along that line. I'll go to the next question, which I think will be directed to Yann. So it's coming from Lindy Petsy, and the question, Yann, is to what degree do Peruvian municipalities have business support or lending capacity to support SMEs? like those kind of resources that would ultimately support mining sector and diversification in local communities. And I'm gearing that question to you because of your economic development background in Sudbury.
So thanks for the question. I think that there's, at the moment, I would say it's very limited capacity that they would have. And I do think this represents an area that there's significant opportunity here in terms of spurring entrepreneurship and support for SMEs. There's some wonderful programming, certainly here in Ontario, and I'm sure in other parts of Canada, the municipalities are delivering to encourage people to start a business, to support those businesses for the first 3 to 5 years. National programming, in some cases financial as well, although that really needs a structure probably from the national government in Peru. But in short, I think the relationship between business and municipalities in Peru is one of those areas, small business and municipalities in Peru is one of those areas that represent the greatest potential for us to help.
Thank you very much, Jan. This question comes from Chris Mans, who is our project director in Lima, in Peru, for both countries. And the question goes to all three of you. And maybe I'll start with you, Garth, this time. So firstly, he's thanking you for your great presentations. And basically his questions is, okay, let me look here. So do you consider that the mining companies that you've met with can be good partners for of CISAL, and do they have the right approach and attitude to work with municipalities in Cusco, Ancash, Ira, so the areas that you visited? And so the first question, basically, what do you think about the mining, the private mining companies that you've met with, and the potential for collaboration? Second kind of follow-up questions is, what conditions need to change from your perspective so that municipalities can start to negotiate more directly with companies? So what would be your perspective on that? Garth, I will start with you, if that's okay.
Thank you for the question. Gracias, Christopher. Gracias, Cesar. I hope all's going well down there right now. We only got a chance to meet with directly with one mining company, and the interesting piece on this is there are some barriers that we're going to have to overcome. It is an opportunity, and as an optimist, I have to say yes, that there are opportunities for us to do great partnerships, but we have to be very careful about the approach. We arrived in Santo Tomas. We had a radio broadcast of some of the work that we're planning to do, and we got challenged on that as being what we're doing. Are we here to help the local governments or to help the mines? And there was a lot of suspicion and uncertainty about exactly what our role was going to be. So we have to be very clear that we're here to help strengthen local governments, and don't want to get into or enhance any type of conflicting type of relationship. We want simply to make sure that the benefits that are coming from mines and mining activities go to those local governments. So there are challenges, but absolutely the mining companies have seemed open. They had an enabled, engaged community development person who we actually ran into when we went to meet with the mayor of Quinota quite by accident. So they were out in the communities. They were looking for opportunities. But what we have to do is make sure that when we have opportunities to share around local economic development, partnering, any of these opportunities in CISAL, that we're here on behalf of local governments. That's where our strengths are, and that's where we want to help, and that's where we will help. So yes, the opportunity there.
Thank you very much, Garth. That's definitely one of the questions we get the most. So basically, why is FCM working there, and what's the relevance of the experience that we're bringing to the So thank you for addressing that up front. Marie-France, what would be your own perspective on the private companies that you've met?
Hello, Christopher. It's nice to hear you. Regarding the situation in La Guajira, the certain mine, as I said previously, which is a Canadian company, it's a coal mine, one of the biggest in the world. I was told it's the third biggest open pit coal mine in the world. They definitely seem to be open. They are already doing a lot, especially regarding the environment. I was quite impressed with what I saw. But I said, we believe that they can involve themselves more, but for that, governments need to work on type relations. So the Han mine, I believe it is, yes, it could be an excellent partner with the SEAL program, but we need to work on those relationships. As far as the second question is concerned, what would need to change within those municipalities, what we've noticed is, again, because of the lack of structure and communication, they do not fully control what's happening in their own municipalities, in relation again with the coal mine. So that I believe would need to be in control. For that, they need to get more information and to structure it more. So that would come for this one.
Thank you much, Marie-France. Anything to add to this question?
I would agree that the mining companies can be good partners for us. Most significant mining companies now are well set up with corporate social responsibility staff who are really responsible for working with it. I agree with Garth that we need to maintain our focus on local government and making them a player. To that degree, in some cases it needs more structural change to make those local governments more relevant, even in their own communities. If they're more relevant, the mining companies will relate to them. I can't put plainer than that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. And I'll keep you online for the next question that comes from Mark Miele, who is basically sharing a little bit that he's been involved as part of the municipality, the town of Timmins, in some work with two communities in Peru, I believe, Ancash and Chambapilas. And they've been doing some training and workshop with the leadership, and one of the key questions there, and that was part also of your presentation, the change of leadership and administration makes it challenging to do anything that basically really helps the long-term development of those communities. And I don't know if you can address that question because it was not necessarily part of the work you've done with us, but nonetheless you may have a perspective. So he's asking, what can we do to help build stronger long-term and mid-term strategic planning to strengthen this political and administrative, or basically compensate those gaps? From what you've seen, any advice or suggestion on how to approach those longer-term perspective development in a more useful manner?
I do think that on levels, I think there's an answer here. One is trying to reach into the community and have them engaged along with the municipality in that strategic planning piece, so that it becomes not just the responsibility of the current mayor and the current senior staff, that it's more of a community-owned piece. So that's one piece. The second piece I suggested was part of our report coming back is they look for those staff people that are not part of that revolving door, if you will, at the top, but have really good potential, and work very directly on them so that they increase their professional skills and bring that to the table on an ongoing basis. Because I believe that will start to create relevance in the community as that professionalism and experience continues, and municipalities will become a more significant player, and it'll help that move forward.
Thank you very much. We're getting close to the end of the webinar. We'll maybe go for another 10 minutes, including the closing part of Garth. So, but we still have a couple of questions. I'll try to cover all of them. Not sure we'll be able to do it. The next question, maybe I'll start with you, Marie-France. The question comes from Catherine Murillo, and she says that as part of the presentations, we haven't heard too much about gender equality and this aspect of development. Not necessarily what Sal is going to be doing about it, but maybe how women are being taken into consideration in general in local governments, if they are present in the planning and implementation of activities. Do you see women on councils or women elected leaders? What is it that you've seen from that angle, or maybe some opportunities?
Well, first, I'm not sure if it's everywhere in Colombia, but in La Guajira, the Wayu culture, which is the indigenous culture, it is matriarchal. Sorry for saying that word again. It is matriarchal. So definitely the position of women is important. So women do have a lot of influence within their families, at least. Regarding the political scene, the governor in La Guajira said so very quickly today, but she is a woman. She was elected, first woman elected, so she was taking position last January. A strong, powerful woman. So I was quite impressed and happy to see this, actually. But on councils, I haven't seen any women so far, neither at a position to be there. But I've met with different staff, head of planning. So a lot of women are actually working on the in local governments as part of administration. I don't know if it answers the question.
Yeah, it does right now, like in terms of what we've seen, our perception, and definitely that's an important part of our project development to look at opportunities to involve those women, in particular those in leadership and administrative roles. So thank you. Maybe I'll ask, I don't know, Jan or Garth, if one of you have additional perspective on that. Jan, anything to add?
Not really. I think that I'm glad that that's part of our raison d'etre and part of our mandate. I think there is good work to be done. And again, we found some outstanding staff, female staff in those municipalities. And however we can support them, I think would be excellent.
Thank you. And then Garth.
It's a really relevant question because of particularly with what we're getting from Global Affairs Canada and the Prime Minister coming out so strongly that this shouldn't be an issue anymore, that he's looking forward to the day where it's not. But we saw in Peru was among the elected officials, I believe, two women who were on councils who were taking part. So, we've had a lot of success in Ukraine with helping Ukraine local government bring up their equality high in elected officials. We were helpful there. But bear in mind, even in Canada, we were declaring success when BC last election got to 32% involvement as elected officials. So there's a long way to go here. And Canada, if we're at 30%, we're lucky. So, we got a long way to go, Pascal.
Very much. We still have a lot of questions. We won't be able to go through them. They would be very excellent for discussion. So we have questions about like the opportunities for sister cities kind of initiatives that could be facilitated. Basically also looking at the municipal interest of Canadian municipalities to be involved there, how the mining sector affects inequalities locally. That would be a very rich question. That's one of the participants asked that. Strategies, suggestions you might have to leverage the municipal influence over the mining sector. So there's definitely opportunity to do more webinar. I'll nonetheless prompt a last question to both of you, Marie-France and Jan. So also as a way to thank you for contributing to our webinar. So the last question is, someone asked, what motivated you to get involved in CISAL, or to really get into this development cooperation and bring your expertise overseas? Marie-France, I'll start with you. What brought you to CISAL?
Actually, this is a very good question. Well, myself, I lived abroad during my teachhood, North Africa, so I've always been interested in whatever is happening internationally. So I believe that we must have this openness to the world. As far as I'm concerned, I think this water issue that I talked about, which was, again, a major crisis for us here, citizens not having water for over 2.5 years. So we had to learn the rough way, if I can say it this way. So to participate in such a program, it is simply a pleasure to have the opportunity to share what we went through, to sit down with no matter where, to share ideas, to help them, so that we can use what we've learned and But it is a good question. We could go on with this one for longer than 2 minutes.
Yeah, merci beaucoup, Marie-France, again for being with us today on the webinar. Jan, your turn.
So for myself, I actually didn't know about FCM International until a few years ago. I was at the annual conference, and FCM International was running a seminar, and I went there, and I thought it was a huge opportunity to get out there into the world and meet with other municipalities. I'm very interested and active in regional economic development in Ontario, in Northern Ontario in particular, and I always find it really rewarding to meet municipal professional to municipal professional and talk about the challenges that we're both facing, and you inevitably learn something they can bring back, and hopefully you can share something that's useful to them as well. So that's kind of why I'm involved.
Thank you very much, Jan. Thank you for joining us today. And in your presentation, you use the same wording that we FCM uses usually when we talk international collaboration at the municipal level. We use the term like this two-way street, and definitely we could go at length. There's several reasons why this is bringing value. Just to close, I'll get the control back to Councillor Garth Frizzell, who will just run us briefly over a couple of additional slides. Garth, your turn again. Thank you.
Much, Pascal, and to all of the participants who've been taking part and listening. I talked earlier about the opportunities I've had to work in Cambodia and Vietnam through the MPET project, but FCM International has a wide variety of projects that have been going on and are expanding. We're going to talk about a number of new ones in the coming weeks. So we've had this webinar talking about CISAL, but on March 24th, we've got another one talking about the work in the Caribbean, among the nations of the Caribbean there. It's a very exciting project that's been going on with Kerry Led. And April 14th, we're going to have another webinar that's going to be talking about the programs that we've been doing in Ukraine. As you can imagine, with political global events centering on Ukraine, this has been a quite an exciting project as well. And we're to achieve similar goals here with our local government partners in different countries around the world. And you heard about one project today. There's more coming up that we'll be talking about March 24th and April 14th. Also, we've got our big event of the year coming up for Federation of Canadian Municipalities. Picture 2,000 local government officials and expert staff member meeting to talk about issues of the day, and that's what you got with the FCM annual general meeting. It's going to be in Winnipeg this year. They've got a great lineup. Very excited to see everybody again. Looking forward to reconnecting and getting the final conference proceedings. So we have an opportunity to be in Edmonton from June 2nd to the 5th. I'd encourage you to part. The conferences are knowledgeable, but it's a great opportunity to network and hear about things you might not have otherwise heard. I think that's the first place I met even some of the local officials like Laurie Ackerman, who's the mayor of Fort St. John, and that's only 400 kilometers away from my own city. Joining us again, and from the board of directors to the local government to staff, I want to thank all of our being a part, and please don't be shy about sending questions out to us. international@fcm.ca is a catch-all email address. And thank you to the Government of Canada for the financial support, and to communities all across Canada for their support. Merci beaucoup, gracias, and best wishes to you all in your day, wherever in the world you are today.
Garth, and just noted that we'll need to change the slide because DEEF had just be rebranded as Global Affairs Canada, so next time we'll do that. So thank you, and have a good day, everyone. Goodbye.